this is Leo Sayer, and this is my latest record, a tribute to the Beatles, Northern Songs. I hope you like it. Oh, let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Field. Oh, nothing is real, and nothing to get hung about. Strawberry Fields forever.
Yeah. So you made a record, Northern Songs, all these Beatles tunes, and I was very surprised when I heard it because I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect what I heard. You've done some strange and amazing things with the songs, and the first one that I understand kind of kicked it off was your version of Eleanor Rigby. So
yeah,
tell me about that and how that made this record possible.
Yeah, well, that was actually the first song that I recorded, and this is now going back about 10 years ago, because I suppose it came about because I was experimenting in my studio, trying different things out, and trying to find ways that I could advance methods of working completely by myself and not relying on musicians, like manipulating samples. I've been doing this for years, but I mean, usually I would always have musicians finish the albums with me, you know, so I'd play them what they start and they go, oh, that's it. Oh, yeah, okay, great. Yeah, let's get, they'll figure out how to play those chords because, you know, they've been imagined by someone who's not a guitarist, you know. As it were.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started experimenting, and I was thinking of Michael Jackson's, you know, classic, don't, you know, the Billie Jean. And I started singing Eleanor Rigby to it, you know, and
you know, that's not normal.
No, but I thought, man, I've always tried to kind of like find, you know, different, but I've always tried to experiment, you know, try and find different marriages of things.
Right.
So this was a marriage of ideas, and I found that Eleanor Rigby fit to it so good. And you could sing it, you know, with that kind of with that sort of note scale. You could sing it in a more bluesy way, you know, Eleanor Rigby, flatten it off a little bit instead of Eleanor Rigby, you know, lives in a you know, you can flatten it off a little bit, and it's kind of becomes very bluesy and soulful.
Right.
So I thought maybe that's a key to doing something, and I tried it, and I had an engineer who I've worked with in England who used to work with Tina Turner and Bryan Adams, wonderful guy, John Hudson, who had Mayfair Studios in London, and he just arrived in Australia with his Australian partner and packed up the studio in England, decided to emigrate just like me. Nice. And when he phoned me up, I thought, now I've got a project for you, John, because I know what he can do mix-wise. You know, I know how he can make things really happen sound-wise.
Right.
So I gave him the rough track, and he came up with a mix that was just fantastic. All of a sudden, the song really sort of leapt around, and he was digging it. So he kind of, you know, put some more motion, played with the backing vocals and put delays on. And suddenly the whole thing just, and honestly, that mix hasn't changed from 10 years ago.
Very cool.
You know, I had a job, I mean, during COVID, of course, the last couple of years, not been able to tour so much. I have been working up all these tracks and making it into an album. But, you know,
when did the idea come to you to make it from one song, a cover of Beatles to a record?
10 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's taken me this long to get it together. But all the while I've been doing it, I've been playing it to friends and colleagues and people in the business and people in the band. And they've all said, you've got to finish this off. So it's been one of those kind of works in progress that's finally come to fruition in the last year, because finally got a chance to finish it. And John has stayed with the project with me, and he mixed it. And, you know, we did some clever little things with the songs. And
definitely.
But I wanted to personalize it. I wanted to bring my take. I mean, I would often walk around thinking of what songs I could do of the Beatles catalog, and actually deliberately not play the originals, but see how they came in my head. So, you know, you start singing, he's a real nowhere man, and all of a sudden it comes reggae, you know, you're thinking Marley and Jimmy Cliff, you know, and so you go to the computer and you start doing it. And then when you finish the idea, when the bassist is down, when the keyboard and the drums and the bass and the vocals down, then play the original and go, oh my God, how far have I gone?
Right.
And that was kind of a lot of the modus operandi. The other thing was, I've got a great friend here you've probably heard of. I'm sure you've heard of Glenn A. Baker, who's a very famous musicologist.
Yes, indeed.
And he's a good friend of mine. And he would always come and visit me. And I love to tease him by putting on one of the songs like Can't Buy Me Love. And Glenn guessed the song and he'd go, I've no idea. And then get to the verse, he went, what? So I was enjoying playing with Glenn on those ideas.
Very
and he
cool.
said, just keep trying to catch me out, Leo, every song. So I got this idea that I could take these liberties. That was the thing. And I mean, I know since it's been released, there've been a few sort of comments about how dare he do.
Well,
the
there
Beatles.
you go. You're going to get that.
But I don't know if you've ever heard Ray Charles doing Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire.
I don't think I have.
And it's well, check it out if you get a chance. Yeah. And he completely changes the song, but he brings so much more to it.
Right.
So interpretation sometimes can be a great thing,
Yeah. Now, when I was listening to the tracks kind of as a whole, the first thing that struck me was that you seem to approach it from a very rhythmic point of view. Like is that where you started from changing the basic rhythm?
Well, the original title was Free the Beatles.
Okay.
And the idea was kind of, let's put some beat into the Beatles and let's make them really groovy.
Right.
And maybe add some Sly Stone kind of soul to it, Motown kind of soul. Let's add some groove to it, let's kind of make it spit a little bit, put some Prince into the song Girl, where it's kind of, the songs just kind of groove a little bit. They feel like they feel free.
Right.
And I had this kind of crazy idea that came at the same time of the Beatles being locked up on some fantasy island and they couldn't escape, and they're all kind of imprisoned there, a bit like the Hunger Games,
Right.
And they've got to break out. And the way that they break out is that they play these songs anew and they give them a kind of groove. And the young kids that have captured them go, actually, you're really groovy and we'll let you out. We think you're cool. You should be in the world.
Well, it's a good, I mean, as far as Beatles go, this is a pretty good time as they're, with the Peter Jackson film and all that, everybody's kind of talking about the Beatles. So I was wondering if you'd seen the film and what your reaction was.
Oh, man, Peter's work is a genius. I mean, look, he's a genius anyway. But what he's done, and I now hear from, we've seen that the Rooftop concert is now coming out on IMAX and all that sort of stuff. But people are talking about the fact that to get the sound to go from really dirty old mono on those simple AV cameras that they had in those days with just Nakamichi recorders, they've actually gone AI to kind of like recognize the sounds and separate the sounds within the tracks, which is work of genius, really. It's lovely to know that technology these days can do things like that. But I mean, the lovely thing about it is not only the audio separation, which is fantastic because we can really hear what they're doing, but it's the interaction between the boys, the way that what they thought the little comments were, well, you never do that, you're an arsehole, that all kind of comes through, you can see George getting more and more irritated as he sings his great songs that would be on All Things Must Pass in the end. Isn't it a pity? And all these great songs, and they just kind of, John and Paul just go, yeah, well, it's good. Yeah, keep working on it.
Keep working on it, yeah.
I know.
I gotta say, I was impressed with how kind they were to George. And they were aware of what was going on, but
I know.
Still, what are you going to do?
But they were kind of, but I have always had this theory, knowing them, and because I knew George very well, and I spent a lot of time, and I would quiz him about this because I love that period between Let It Be and Abbey Road, when all of a sudden the band accepted George much more and listened to him, and he brought in all the. Think of it. I mean, Abbey Road has Clapton. There's different engineers involved, all who are working with George. Different techniques of recording that George brought in, different ways of like harmonizing the guitars and things like that. It suddenly George brought a lot to the party, and that's why Abbey Road for me is the best Beatles album. So now because it's so perfect.
You've answered one of my questions. I was going to ask you if you had any first-person Beatle experiences, and you mentioned that George is a buddy. So what do you think he would think of these songs, the way you've done them?
I'm not sure. I think he'd think I was having fun, and he'd like that, because George liked to have fun with music. And I'm intrigued to know. I mean, a friend of mine, Tony Bramwell, was the Beatles press agent right at the end, keeps saying to me that he's going to take it to Paul to play.
Right.
And I thought of sending it to Paul, but I don't have the courage, I'm afraid, because I think he'd just kind of diss it straight away if I did that. But maybe if Tony plays it to him,
right,
and a couple of other friends, it would be interesting to see the reaction. And I kind of think he'd get in the spirit of it, because the Beatles, as we can see in Get Back, and what is it lovely to see, they were always experimenting.
Yeah.
And they were always trying things, and they were never sacred about their own songs, So I think that's an interesting element that comes through in the movie. That kind of, I found, I mean, even though I was already into the project, and I didn't realize that, when I was finishing it off, that things would be so synchronistic, with the Jackson film coming out, and me heading for a release at the same time. The synchronicity wasn't planned. It just kind of seemed to happen.
These things happen.
I don't think I could have spent another year getting this together. I had to, sometimes something's got to go to bed. It's got to be put to bed, So it came like that. But I kind of thought, well, I found it inspiring watching Get Back while we were mixing this and thinking, I mean, the boys were having fun with their own music. So I think that opens up the possibilities for one to do something really personal, take your own take on it.
Right.
And somebody paid me a lovely compliment the other day in a review as saying that you've actually made the Beatles sound like a Leo Sayer record.
Oh, that's
and I think that's a kind of good thing in a way, because
right.
If we can keep our personality, like when Willie Nelson sings songs, they all sound like Willie Nelson songs.
That's a fact.
They?
Yep.
And it could be a standard by somebody else.
Yep.
Maybe Neil Young has that approach, or Joni Mitchell.
Yep.
Like, great artists, I think, put their own stamp onto music, and they will never ever sing it exactly the same, because that's the job of tribute bands and covers bands. And
right.
Fuck them, let them have it.
Yeah.
I don't like all that stuff. I find it. What's the point? I mean, you can't beat the Beatles.
Yep.
You can't
that's impossible. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can't beat Dylan. I mean, all these shows going around where everybody's singing Dylan songs. I think, what's the point, really? Unless you do something with it.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to interpreters, look at the way that Stevie Wonder did. I try to see it my way.
Yep. We can work it out. It's beautiful.
I mean, they take it and he makes it his.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I think that's the approach that one should turn to.
Now, you mentioned Leo Sayer records, and I did check and see that I had a few thousand.
Hey,
there's a bunch of them here.
That
was a classic. And I noticed you're kind of celebrating your 50th anniversary.
Yes, I love your record rack at the back there. Now you've got some albums.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I've got a few, but not like that.
It's not a contest. But
it's not a contest.
So tell me, when you think of looking back over 50 years of making music, what does that make you feel like, and what do you think of?
I feel very proud, because basically, one thing I really wanted to achieve from when we started in 1972 with David Courtney, and I'd sung blues and played blues harmonica in many bands, and sat in with some great musicians, the guys from Free, and and sat in with John Mayall and Alexis Corner, and all these wonderful musicians. But I'd never really, I didn't have a plan, as it were. But when I met Adam Faith, and he said, "Do what you like. I love your voice, so you can write what you like." So David and I started to really just be creative from the get-go. And I made myself a promise that I would always do that. I wasn't ever going to just settle back on being a good singer or, being a predictable artist. I wanted to but maybe that was the spirit of the 70s anyway, that I came into,
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to make records that would be not linked to the record before,
Right.
So they would jump and change a lot. And of course, I got a lot of criticism from the English critics when I went to America to work with Richard Perry, because all of a sudden I came back with a very sophisticated LA record, and they said, "Oh my God, he's gone. He's sold out. That's it. It's over." And I got criticism down under as well, because they'd got so used to songs like One Man Band and Moonlighting,
Yep.
very autobiographical kind of things. And then we went in a different direction because Richard really wasn't into those songs so much.
Right.
So if I was going to work with him, I had to go with him. He wanted me to be Frankie Lyman or Smokey Robertson, Yep. He didn't want me to be an English singer-songwriter, necessarily a Roy Harper or something like that. He wanted me to grow from that,
Right. Yeah. And he did pretty good with Ringo on his album, so he had some.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is that Richard brought in this incredible bunch of musicians that, the people that I would dream of working with, and they were all in my favorite catalogue of records. Bobby Hall was the percussionist for Sly Stone. I went, oh my God, that will do. And then guys like Michael O'Mardian was the pianist on the last Bobby Bland records. So wow, these so they all my peripheral heroes, my esoteric heroes, were kind of Larry Carlton with Steely Dan. And Jeff Beccaro, of course, with Steely Dan. So Richard introduced me to a bunch of musicians for those 3 albums that I did with him that really just raised my game, because hanging out with these guys, spending time with them, you realize that you had to be so on the case, And lovely things happened during that time. I mean, it was basically me who discovered Steve Lukather. Right. And it was a young kid hanging around, and I got him at a gig with Boz Scaggs, who was a friend of mine. And then eventually, and the guys in Toto, they were all my backing band. So one day they just turned around to me and they said, we're going to start a band. Would you be our singer? And I said, well, I'd love to. And then I checked and I found I couldn't, because I was contracted, and my manager, Adam Flake, said, you're not leaving
for the rest of your life instead.
Oh man, but what a band, I mean, I was so thrilled at what happened to them. So much talent, Okay, there was some sadness as well, but basically what they started as a brand is just incredible. And I knew firsthand because that was my band,
Very cool. Very cool.
So it's a long-winded way of answering. I basically tried to kind of keep changes going in my career. When I came to Living in a Fantasy and working with Alan Tarney, all of a sudden I'm working with a guy with More Than I Can Say, in those tracks. All of a sudden, after Richard Perry, I'm working with a guy who, he's the only musician, really. He's got a drummer, but basically,
he's doing it all.
He's doing it all. So I learned different things as the career went on. And I think that's the part of the journey that's stood me in such good shape for now, where I'm just having a ball and I'm listening to older stuff that I've made and realizing there's at least 500 songs that have never come out yet.
Oh,
so
the
rest is just still to come, So I'm feeling like, even though I'm 74 this year, I'm feeling like I'm in my youth of my career, And I suppose heroes like Van Morrison and Bob Dylan would always tell you the same thing, that this journey that you start out on starts getting good as you get older.
Yeah, I think they would.
I mean, scary
Bob's
news.
Back on the road again, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, scary news overnight with Glenn Wheatley dying, at 74, same age. You kind of think of things like that, but at the same time, if I can keep myself healthy, I know I've got a lot of work to come. So I'm feeling I'm in another period of my career, which feels like a really good one.
Very cool. Now you mentioned your harmonica playing. And so I noticed there was some harmonica on your version of Hard Day's Night, which was kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened. We'll get you back to the new record here.
Well, actually, a moment there. I mean, I'm always making comparisons because I'm always thinking of favorite records. And there's a great track by Supertramp where this harmonica comes in at the end, and it's
Take the Long Way Home.
Wrong. Yeah, Long Way Home. No, not Take the Long Way Home. It's it's on one of the later albums, and it's Rick singing,
right?
And you had this big sax riff in it. Okay. And then right at the end, this harmonica comes in. And I was thinking, hey, why don't I do that? Because I already had the groove, which was rather like Van Morrison's. I've been working.
Yep.
Still got a long way to go.
Yep.
So that's the groove that I put into there. It's been a hard days, night. So the harmonica came as an accident. I thought maybe I can do that. Maybe I can just. So I started playing, and it just fit.
Cool.
And one take, left it on, didn't even edit it. It's one take. Just first time I picked up the harp and just started playing to it. So,
Nice.
and there's no effect on it. It's just basically just playing through a microphone and through the old Neumann. And,
right. There you go.
Yeah.
So are you
then
doing shows, or are you touring, or are you able to? I don't know
we're doing. You can also hear the amplified harmonica. The other thing I do with the
okay.
sort of Chicago sound on Revolution.
It's gonna be alright. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? You know it's gonna be alright. Alright.
Which is really a harder sound, but I've enjoyed playing harmonica again. I'm doing it much more in the shows now, and I do lots more harmonica. I play the solo in When I Need You is now on harmonica.
Oh, great.
For instance, so with a kind of Chicago bluesy kind of sound, but we are planning, looking at dates and flights at the moment. I mean, how difficult it is down under.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
In NZ as well as in Australia, all these bloody bureaucratic rules.
Yep.
That are holding us back, and they don't seem to like music, do they?
No.
I mean, they love sport, but they don't give a fuck about music. So it's really annoying.
It is annoying.
It's annoying, and the rest of the world is opening up, and we're.
Yep.
I mean, okay, it is dangerous and it's very prevalent, and we are not equipped to deal with it. That's our biggest problem.
Right.
If we were like the rest of the world and a little bit more prepared, I think that it could be better. But we're obviously. I mean, in America, they don't give a toss.
Right. That seems to be that way.
So they're just kind of working, whatever, at your own risk.
Yep.
Australia seems to be, well, we've done nothing wrong, but meanwhile they've really messed up.
Yep.
And oh, hello, the missus.
Not quite the missus, but that's Fiona.
That's Fiona. Fiona, how you doing, darling? Nice to talk to you. So and New Zealand seems to be kind of stuck with this kind of, well, should we allow our people to come back home or not? And I see that tonight they've just released it, that they're going to allow everybody.
So I think
to
it's
come
February
home,
27th is the first day.
Oh, thank God. I feel really good for my Kiwi friends for that. But it's been really tough, but we are now making plans. We have some gigs later this year. In August, I go to Ireland, finish a tour that we started in 2019 and got interrupted because of COVID. So we'll finish off and we'll play Dublin and Belfast and Cork, and that will be great. And then in September to mid of September to middle of November, I've got a massive British tour.
Cool.
So that's really good. And then, please God, we can fit in America next year.
Yep.
New Zealand, hey, come on
down, man.
Just got to find a promoter, and then we're there.
All righty. Well, thank you for taking this time talking to me. Really,
a pleasure. Anything else you need?
No, I think I'm good. I'm going to go play all these records I got now.
Fantastic. Well, let me know when you post this up.
Okay.
Good talking to you, my man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Keep well. Keep safe.
Hey.
Bye-bye.